Hello and welcome back. Today we are going to be making creme brulee. Creme brulee is one of those things that I definitely love to order whenever I see on the menu if I'm at a restaurant, but it's never occurred to me that it's something that I can make at home. It's really only about 5 ingredients, and it seems pretty simple in preparation, but then again, it is, I guess, kind of what we're focusing on, one of the more technical desserts that you can make, just in the way that you temper the eggs into the cream, and then you have to make sure that when you're baking it that it has set, just like it has the right amount of jiggle, so that way when it sets in the fridge it's creamy without being overbaked or underbaked. I also don't have a blowtorch, so what we're going to be doing is I did find 3 different methods to still get that nice crackling top without having a blowtorch. So the goal is to make 4 servings, and then we'll try those 3 different methods. I am going to leave 2 of them plain, and then 2 of them I'm going to make a dulce de leche flavor just because I love dulce de leche. So that's what we're going to get started on today. I'm excited for it. It's one of those things that I feel like makes a really good party dessert because you can make a bunch of them the day before, and then the day of just make sure you brûlée it. Again, don't know why I've never tried it, but we're gonna go ahead and try it today. Hopefully it comes out great because I have a girls trip at the end of this month and I need to bring a dessert. I'm actually prepping an entire dinner because we're gonna do like a small dinner party. But I want the dessert to kind of stand out. Again, it's a girls trip, we're in a cabin, we're gonna be on the road, it's a whole thing. So I wanna make sure the dessert kind of lives up to the moment. But because I have to prepare it ahead of time, I want to make sure that it's something that can travel well. So I don't know if creme brulee will travel well, that it's easy to prepare ahead of time, and that it feels adult. It feels mature. It feels like, women sitting together either at the dinner table or by the fire and just enjoying a nice dessert that none of us can really feel like too kind of whatever about it. It's exciting, so that's the goal. So that's also why I'm trying the dulce de leche flavor, because 2 of my best friends that I'm going with, they're also dulce de leche lovers. So we need 2 cups of heavy cream, a teaspoon of vanilla, 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt, 5 egg yolks, and 1/2 cup of sugar. So we're gonna go ahead and get out those ingredients together and get started on putting this creme brulee together. Okay, so we have our cream, we have our eggs. I did read, because I read a couple recipes on the creme brulee. The one that I'm going to follow the closest is, I don't know if you're familiar with Jose Cooks on YouTube. He did about half, because I think he only made like 2 ramekins, but I found one that was kind of double, but I'm going to use his, the timing that he put to bake and the temperature of the oven. Why was I talking about that? I will look back and get mad at myself for leaving it out. But for right now, I have the heavy whipping cream. I have the eggs. How many eggs do I have in here? 6. Okay, so I'll just take one out and put it back in the fridge. I have some Mexican vanilla that I'm going to use just because it's a little bit more flavorful, and because 2 of them are going to be vanilla flavored, I just kind of want that to come through. I need to get sugar, salt, and I think that was it, and our ramekins. Now, I do know that when you make creme brulee, you place the ramekins, you fill up the whatever you put them in, about 1/3 of the way with hot water. But I did read somewhere that if you heat up your ramekins now in that water bath, and then you dump the water and then you put new hot water right before they're about to bake, that it kind of gives it like that even temperature that it needs. So we're going to try that. We're going to see if that works. So I have a kettle. I'm going to go fill that up with some water. And we're just gonna get this going. Okay, so let me see. For the ramekins, I think mine are not 8 ounces. I think they're 6 ounces. So I think the recipe, it calls for servings of 4 because it makes for an 8 ounce ramekin to be filled. So I might have to do 5 or even 6. So we'll just have to see. So for now, what I'll do is I'll heat up 6, and if I don't need the other 2, I'll just take them out. You do need oven safe ramekins because these are going in the oven. Oh, I have 6 exactly. Okay. Now I have this pan. It's actually not a pan. It's like an enamel cast iron skillet thingy. I could use this. I guess my worry is that because it's like cast iron, that I don't know, like the heating of the pan or something may be a little bit off. I also have, because I don't really have like a roasting pan, a pan that I only have like cookie sheets. I do have a glass pan. I guess this would probably be better. If you have like a roasting pan, you can use that. That'll be better. I don't have one. The only thing I will say is if you're gonna use a roasting pan and it's like the stainless steel or the aluminum one, put down a piece of paper towel. That way it doesn't stain and get like a rust circle because of the ramekins in the water bath. Let me see if those fit. Yay! Perfect. Okay, so they all fit. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna warm them up in that water. I did wash them before I started this video, so I'm just gonna use a paper towel to get, or actually not a paper towel. I have my kitchen cloths. I just want to get any residue water out of them before we pour our custard in. We have our hot water, so we're just gonna pour it in and just gonna make sure I don't splash or get any water back inside these ramekins. And what I'm gonna have to do, because I'm gonna dump that water out, I'm going to have to slowly remove the ramekins. Again, so I don't get any water in them, dump the water out and put new water in. But that's fine. This is still more than halfway full. So I'm just gonna put that back on just in case right before we're about to get ready to put them in the oven. We'll just turn this on for another minute to get it back boiling and we should be set. So we're gonna put these to the side. And we're gonna get started on our custard. So another first thing we have to do is we have to separate the egg yolks from the egg whites. Don't throw out your egg whites. you can still use them for like a breakfast burrito. You can use them to make, I don't know if you're into like, we're already making creme brulee, but if you like, what is that called? You know what I'm talking about with the egg whites. I cannot think of the name right now. Like a souffle, almost. If that's what it's called, I cannot get the name right. But it's like you whip the egg whites with sugar, and then it becomes like stiff. You know what I'm saying? Then you have to like it's a stiff. You know what I mean? I cannot think of the name right now. But you can reuse your egg whites. Okay, you don't have to throw them out. Even if you don't want to do anything super fancy, you can simply just scramble them up and put them in a breakfast meal, and it'll work just fine. So I'm gonna use this to put my egg whites in. And you know what? Actually, I'm gonna use this because this one has a lid, and that way I can put them in the fridge. The little pantry is very tight. I don't have that much space. So I have a bowl here, and this is the bowl that we're gonna be using to make the custard. So I'm grabbing a whisk and just some measuring cups and spoons because we're gonna need them. All right. So let's go ahead and get our ingredients separated. So we don't need our recipe book right now. So I'm just gonna move that to the side, and we're gonna go ahead and get our eggs separated. What I like to do is I like to crack it, just kind of let the egg white fall in between my fingers, get as much of it off as I can before placing it to the side. Now I think that if you were to use room temperature eggs instead of cold eggs, it'll be easier to separate because I think the whites won't be so firm. Don't quote me on that. I don't know what this is, but if I can, I like to remove it. I have to look that up and see what that is. I think it's some sort of like membrane or something to the egg. As long as it didn't break. I guess it really doesn't matter if it breaks, as long as it breaks in that bowl, because it's gonna get whisked anyway. So I'm on egg number 4. If you wanted to do like 2 servings instead of 4, or even the 6 that I might possibly be making, I think you only need 2 eggs, 3/4 a cup of heavy cream, just like a pinch of salt. How much sugar we put in? 1/2 cup, so maybe like 1/4 of a cup of sugar, and just like a teaspoon of vanilla. I can try to find a recipe and link it or put it in the description for just half. If you're somebody that you're just either just 2 people, or you just don't want to, you know, you're not going to eat that many before they have to be eaten. 2 is also a great serving amount. So we have our eggs separated. We're gonna go ahead and put our egg yolks in the fridge because we don't need them. Now I have my dulce de leche out. So what I'm gonna do is, once I have my cream tempered, or I guess my cream heated up, when I'm tempering it into the eggs, once all that is done, I'm going to, I think what I may do is pour the first 2 ramekins and then just add a squeeze of it in here and then mix it up while it's still hot and then pour the last 2. This doesn't have anything in it, it's just smooth, so it shouldn't mess with the consistency of the custard. I did see one of Jose L. Cook's videos is he used coffee. So what he did was when he heated up the cream, he added like a scoop of espresso or coffee, ground coffee into it, and then he strained it. That way it had the coffee flavor. So if you're someone who's a coffee lover, that's also a good flavor to try out. What I'm gonna bring over here is this little sifter. I'm gonna try to temper it very slowly, so it shouldn't be any clumps, but because this is our first time, we're gonna go ahead and use one of these to strain it as we pour. If you don't have one, that's perfectly okay. But yeah, keep that to the side. So let's go ahead and get our cream heated up. Okay, so we're gonna put our pan on a medium heat. My numbers go from, well, low to high, but the in-between numbers are 1 to 6. So I have it on a 4. And we're gonna be using, I believe I said, yep, 2 cups of heavy cream. Now this is 16 ounces, so it should be 2 cups, but we're still gonna go ahead and measure it out. It's 1. Yeah, so this was the perfect amount we needed. It's 1 pint with just 2 cups. We're gonna add our salt. And it is 1/8 of a teaspoon. I happen to have, which I didn't even know, 1/8 of a teaspoon. But if you don't have one this small, then like if you have 1/4, then you can just use 1/2 of that. If you have 1/2 teaspoon, then you can just use 1/4 of that. Just try to do it to like the best you can. It's not like we're baking anything in a way like the salt matters and like it has to be super, super precise. You just don't, this is a dessert, so you just don't want it to be salty. And I have more than 1/8, so we're just gonna account for some of that salt that fell into it from the side. I'm just gonna get that salt in there. We don't want it to obviously bubble over, so we're gonna keep our eye on this. And in the meantime, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna get started on getting the egg yolks and the sugar mixed together. So we're gonna get our eggs and our sugar mixed together. Before we do that, I actually wanna put the oven on, so we're gonna put it on 325. That way it can get up to a cool temperature. And after this part, things are gonna move pretty swiftly. So I'm just gonna put that kettle back on. If you don't have a kettle and you're boiling water, now would be a good time to get that water to a boil so we can get that. Or I guess if your hot water tap, depends on how hot it runs. If it runs really hot, you can go ahead and use your tap hot water. But if it doesn't, then get your water boiling so we can go ahead and add that in once we're ready to put these in the oven. So I'm just gonna click that on. And I have a little bit of a mess. Okay. Our cream is heating up. Once the cream is done heating up, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna add the vanilla. I like adding the vanilla last when it's just vanilla extract, because I don't want the vanilla to actually burn out of whatever it is that I'm making. So if you have a vanilla bean, then you would add vanilla bean now. If you have vanilla bean, then it'll probably come out even better. And if you have that vanilla bean paste, that's great too. You can also add that in with the cream, but I don't have that. So I'm just gonna wait until we're almost ready to turn it off, and then I'm gonna add the vanilla extract. I got out this little measuring cup. I think I wanna get my big one. That way I can just pour all of them without having to stop. So I'm gonna switch it out for the 4-cup size. I feel extremely intimidated by this, and I don't know why. I think it's gonna turn out fine, but I'm still a little scared. We have our 1/2 cup measure. Will this fit in here? Not quite. Okay, we have a half a cup. We're gonna go ahead and add that in. You want to keep it moving because you don't want the sugar to curdle the egg yolks, which is another reason why it might be good to use a sift. That sugar looks incorporated really well. It's almost turned into like a pale yellow. And I don't see any lumps. So I'm happy about that. We're gonna add our vanilla. We're gonna turn the cream off the pot. I'm actually gonna bring it over here. It's so pretty. And nothing's happened yet. It's so pretty. Now, if you happen to have a coffee filter, like if you have, our oven's at 325. If you happen to have like a regular standard coffee pot, not like one of the Keurigs, and you have those coffee filter papers, you can add one on top of this just to make sure that it is extremely strained. So your custard is completely smooth, but you don't have one. I don't have one. It's fine. How much vanilla do we need? We need a teaspoon of vanilla. Our cream is off the heat. I forgot to shake it. I usually like to shake my vanilla just to make sure if anything's settled at the bottom that we get it. If you're somebody who loves vanilla like me, another little splash won't hurt. Okay, so we have to get this slowly poured in. However, this pot is way too big for that. So I'm making more dishes for myself. It will be best if you used a pot like this where it has a handle. I have my lunch, my leftover mac and cheese in here, so I couldn't use it. But if you have a pot like that, that's probably best. So what I'm gonna do is just make another dish. I'm gonna use this to pour it in. I'm trying to think. Yes. Okay. So actually, before I start, because I have this glass bowl, I don't want it twirling around while I'm trying to mix it. So I'm just gonna add a cloth to the bottom of it just to keep it steady. And we're gonna go ahead and slowly add in our hot cream. We don't want to make scrambled eggs. You probably don't have to go as slow as I'm going, but because this is my first time and we're doing this together, I want to make sure that we're both at a pace that is comfortable so no one feels left behind. And remember, everything that we try on this channel, I'm trying for the first time. I don't know, just like you. But I do a little bit of research before I start filming myself. I don't just have an idea and I'm like, you know what? Let's press record. I try to look up some of it. And you always kind of deviate a little bit. I feel like if you're a cook at heart, it's very hard to follow a recipe because you get inspired and then you start to get all these ideas. Now, what you don't want to do also is create a lot of bubbles for yourself, because you don't want your dessert to be full of bubbles. I think there is a way to, I think you have to have a blowtorch, and then I think once you have it in the ramekin, you can use the blowtorch to get all the bubbles out. We don't have that. I'm just gonna see if maybe I can just take this, like a ladle or something, and scoop some of the bubbles out. Lots of dishes. Let's see. I have this spoon, it's pretty flat. Let me see if it'll let me. Yeah. Let's get that dish back. You don't have to do this step. I'm just trying to get as smooth of a custard as possible. And I know I'm not going to get all the bubbles by doing this, but I don't know, I think it'll help. If my bowl wasn't so deep, I could probably go in a little bit better, but I went and grabbed the biggest bowl I could find. Okay, I feel like I did a good job. So we're gonna go ahead and strain. Hopefully nothing settled while we did that. Beautiful. There's nothing there. Amazing. So we have our custard here. Now, I still have the ramekins in that water. The water has cooled down, but it definitely did warm the ramekins up a little bit. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to get this water out and then we'll get our new water in. The smart thing would be to remove all these ramekins. So I'm gonna be smart today because I had the thought of just trying to hold on to them and pour the water out, but we went through so much trouble of getting the water out of the ramekins. I don't want to Now we're gonna go ahead and pour half of this. 1, 2. I think we may be able to do 6, if not 6, at least 5. And I'm gonna get my dulce de leche. I'm just gonna squeeze some in there. I'm gonna go get my whisk. I'm checking the bottom to make sure that it's blended in. I do like that this whisk is big because it didn't create a bunch of new bubbles. And we're gonna get this poured in. You can definitely tell the color difference. This one has a much darker amber color to it. So these are the 2 with the dulce de leche, and these 3 are plain. I'm gonna take this one out because I only made 5. And we're gonna get our new hot water. We're gonna fill it 1/3 of the way. A little bit more. Okay. We're gonna get this in the oven. It's already preheated to 325. And we're gonna bake these for 35 minutes. I'm gonna set my timer to 30 minutes, and then we'll come back just to check, do a little wiggle test and see how they're doing. Our timer is set. We have 27 minutes left on the clock. We're gonna get our area cleaned up, and then we're gonna get our recipe book out to write out the recipe, because even though we haven't tried it yet, I'm pretty sure that this is going to be a winner. I don't know about the brulee part, but I know the cream is going to be there. And we're also going to check in on our finance goal for our knife. So let's go ahead and get this put away. I have a little rack here. I think I've showed it in the first video of like all my seasonings and things. So it's easy because I just keep it close to the oven. Oh, I use this. These I did not use. Usually when I have leftover water in a kettle, I like to do the dishes and then add a little bit of baking soda and vinegar to the drain once the dishes are done. Let that kind of clear out and then add boiling hot water down the drain. I think you're not supposed to do that if you have certain pipes. So don't, this is not advice. I'm just telling you what I do. I feel like it helps, especially too, when I live in an older home. I don't have a garbage disposal. So if I have a food catcher there that catches any residual food, but if anything happens to get past that, I kind of like to do this method to kind of get everything in the drain cleared out so it doesn't start to smell. I do not plan on making dinner tonight, so it'd be nice to have like a little dessert. Oh, I plan on making dinner. It's just not like, I plan on making breakfast for dinner. So I'm thinking we're gonna do some grits, some bacon, some sausage, some eggs, and maybe French toast. So I'm making dinner, but it doesn't feel like dinner, so it's nice to have like a little snack after. I feel like all of the real effort that I put in today goes into this dessert. So I like to wipe the counter first with just water to get any residual mess up. And then I'll go in and spray it down with a disinfectant. I like to do that because I don't like to push around the food on the counter. I feel like the disinfectant doesn't get a chance to actually disinfect when you're just pushing food around. So in between that, you have to rinse your microfiber cloth off if you use reusable ones. I started doing that a couple months ago and it has been a game changer. I was going through paper towels like nobody's business. I am a habitual napkiner, which means I rinse my hand, I grab me a paper towel. I'm eating, I grab me a paper towel. Like I do anything, I'm grabbing a paper towel. And I go through so many paper towels, it's ridiculous. So I started and it's kind of like a color coded, or I guess cloth coated system. These are used to clean. This green one that you saw me with, I only use it for cooking stuff. So if I'm, like I had that little bit of water left in those clean ramekins, that's fine. I just scoop the water out. If I'm making like a bread or something and I have to kind of drape something over it, I will go ahead and grab one of these. That is the only time I'm using these for like clean food purposes. And then I have the bigger ones. Those go on here, or I use as a dish rack because I don't actually have a dish rack right now. I feel like when I have a dish rack, I will just leave things in the dish rack and I'll put the dishes up. And I like having the counter space. Right now, there are things here, but that's because I had to wash those ramekins because I actually just purchased them. And they all came with lids, which is great. That's another great thing. If you're going to be ordering ramekins or buying ramekins for this, get ones with lids. That way you don't you're obviously not going to brulee all of them at the same time. You only want to brulee them when you actually plan on eating them. You can just pop the lid on it. So keep it from getting any sort of film or anything on top of it, and then just pull it out when you're ready. You can also use them, it'll be great like when you're meal prepping or you have like some small leftovers or something. Easy. You can put the lid on it, and you can also, it's not just like for ramekins, because how many times, well, if this comes out good, who knows how many times we're going to be making creme brulee. But how many times are you really going to be making creme brulee? So multi-purpose use. We don't want any, or we want to minimize any single-use items. So you can use this for leftovers, storing food. If you cut like half an onion, put the other half in here, pop the lid on. So if you're gonna get ramekins, I think the ones with the lids were maybe like $2 or $3 more. To me, it's definitely worth it because I feel like you get more use out of them instead of just ramekins. They become Tupperware. And Tupperware you can put in the microwave. Tupperware you can put in the oven. Not the lid. The lid's plastic, but you get where I'm going. Okay, so let's pull up a stool. Now we're only writing the first half of this because, come a little closer. There you go. Because we're trying 3 different brulee methods. So I want to make sure that I have the best one of a brulee method without a blowtorch before I write down all 3, because one of them may not work, 2 of them may not work, or I just may prefer one over the other. It may just be a little bit simpler. It may have a better brulee to it. I don't know. So right now we're just gonna write down the ingredients for the cream. Let's see. It's gonna go in puddings and desserts. I have some, it's so nice to open it up and actually see desserts in here. These are some of the newer desserts that I made this year for Thanksgiving, and they came out amazing. I made a ginger snap cheesecake. When I tell you, it was probably the best thing I made in 2024. Oh, just wrote this last night. I made walnut brownies. They came out really good. They look good. If you watch the video of the seasonal produce, I have purchased a bag of chopped walnuts, and even though they're probably good for a very long time, I got scared. I don't know. I was like, I need to use the walnuts, and I love walnut brownies, and I wanted something chocolate. So I had ended up making these walnut brownies, and when I tell you, they came out so good. If you want the recipe to them, I will go ahead and link it. But they came out amazing. They're super chewy. They have lots of nuts in them. I even added a half a cup of semi-sweet chocolate chips to it. So it has like that fudgy element because of the melted chocolate. I mean, they're just perfect. And I did not have cocoa powder, like straight cocoa powder. I'm getting off track here. I only had hot chocolate mix. I have this Ghirardelli double chocolate hot cocoa mix. And it's basically just sugar and cocoa powder. So I was like, okay, cool. I'm gonna cut back the sugar, and then and it came out perfectly. I basically cut the sugar in the recipe because this had sugar in it. And when I tell you, they're probably like some of the best, and I'm not just saying that because I made them, some of the best brownies I've ever had. So if you have like cocoa, like hot chocolate mix in your house, and you don't want to buy cocoa powder because you're not somebody who uses cocoa powder a lot like me, I want to start baking things from scratch. Like, I really, really want to try to make Ina Garden's chocolate cake. It is extremely intimidating, but if we can do it, that will kind of be like one of my highlights for this year. So anyways, at some point I'm gonna have to buy cocoa powder, but I don't have it right now. And again, I don't see myself doing that chocolate cake anytime soon. So I didn't want to go out and buy some. And it was just kind of in the moment. It was like late at night, not that late. It's kind of late. And I'm like, I want some chocolate, and I have these walnuts, and boom, brownies. What can I use? And they turned out to be amazing. So if you have, just look at the back, make sure it's not too many ingredients. Like this one has cocoa, processed cocoa, sugar, unsweetened chocolate, and vanilla extract. I was fine with all those things because that would go into my brownies anyway. But I also get another one from Trader Joe's, like this one. Clearly I like hot chocolate. This one is a salted caramel hot chocolate, and this is so good. As you know, I love dulce de leche. I love anything like salted caramel flavored. So this is probably my favorite hot chocolate. But I would not use this to make the brownies because it's not cocoa-y enough. It's very like sweet chocolate. Like it's great for hot chocolate, but it would not make a good substitute for cocoa powder. And the ingredients are a lot longer than this one. So it just ended up working out. But anyways, I will write it in the comments if you guys want the recipe for the brownies. But let's go ahead and finish what we started. Grab your recipe book. Again, if it's not sectioned off like mine, it doesn't have to be super fancy. Like before I was using this one, I just had this notebook and I was just writing recipes in this notebook. I still have to transfer what I have in here into here. And before I was using that notebook, I had this little pad. Literally, look at, I've spilled stuff all over the pages. Like I've had this for so long. So it was always a goal of mine to kind of write down the things that I would make, and I never kind of stuck to it. So I'm happy we're doing it here, but you don't need anything fancy to start out with. Just try to section it off. So that way when you're looking for something, you know, okay, the desserts are in the back. So you can start with the very last page and then make your way up until you eventually meet your other recipes. And then at that point, you can transfer to another notebook. If you're doing it on a computer, even better, you can just create a folder and do it that way. Or if you're doing it in your notes, you can still create folders in your notes. So you can do desserts, entrees, you know, salads, whatever it is that you want to put. And that way you can just add that note to that folder. When you're looking for it, you can find it. Because I have, I think like 2,000 notes on my phone and they're not organized. It's crazy. So, creme brulee. We are gonna use 2 cups we've used 2 cups of heavy cream. That's what I wanted to say earlier. I forgot what I was talking about. I saw a recipe that said they use heavy cream or you can use half and half. I don't know. I didn't know you can make a custard with half, but you know what? I guess it kind of makes sense because you can also make a custard with milk. Now you do need some sort of thickener. Like I know people use, what is that called? Like tartar. It's like a tartar powder or something like that. I can't remember what it's called. It starts with a T. Or like kind of what we did today. People use milk and then the eggs and then they thicken it and all that stuff. So I know that I guess you don't need heavy cream. So if heavy cream is expensive, half and half is a lot cheaper than heavy cream. So you can try this with half and half. I saw someone use it. I didn't use it, so I don't know how that turned out, but give it a shot. I'm so glad I thought of it because it was bugging me that I could not remember. 1 teaspoon of vanilla. We use 1/8 teaspoon salt. We used 5 egg yolks and 1/2 cup of sugar. So for the method, we're gonna put separate egg yolks and egg whites. Sorry, my faucet is dripping so much. Old house. Things start to fall apart. It's okay, we love it here. Separate egg yolks and whites. What else did we do? Oh. We heated up our ramekins. Now that's not necessary. You don't have to do that ahead of time. To be honest with you, I'm not even sure if it really makes that much of a difference. So we'll just leave that out because we technically don't have to do that. What I'll say is to add water to kettle. And heat for water bath. And I'm writing that down as a second step because if you don't have a kettle, then you need to get that water boiling on the stove. So we separate our egg yolks and whites. We add our water to our kettle. We add cream to pot with salt and get to a small simmer. You don't want it boiling, but just like a small simmer just to know that it's really hot. So after that, we add our sugar to our egg yolks and whisk. Add vanilla to cream and slowly pour. Into egg and sugar mixture. So we're going to use a sieve to strain. Pour into dried ramekins. Add water to about 1/3 to cover 1/3 of the ramekin. And bake at bake at 325 for about 35 minutes. Let's add a note to say check your ramekins at about 30 minutes to make sure that it's not setting or I guess over baking. And then we want to let them cool and then place them in the fridge for at least 2 to 3 hours. It'll probably be best to do it overnight, but we're gonna come back later on tonight to figure out the brulee. So we're gonna stop here. We're just gonna say let them cool and then place them in the refrigerator for at least 2 to 3 hours. Okay. Oh wow. I talk a lot. We have 8 minutes left. So within these 8 minutes, I'm just gonna go ahead and get these dishes done and then we'll come back to check on it. Remember, we only set it for 30 minutes and technically the instructions said 35. So we're just gonna check, do a little wobble test, and then we'll go from there. Okay, our timer's going off. We're gonna go ahead and take a look, see how we're doing. That is way too loose. It's too much of a jiggle. Hold on. Yeah. It's not done, so we're gonna let it go for those 5 minutes and we'll come back and check on it. Okay, our timer's going off. So we are officially at 35 minutes. Let's see. Oof. Now, I am aware that the ones in the back have, let me see if you can see, like this one in this back corner. This one in the front has more than that one. So I don't think that they're necessarily gonna all cook at the same time, but at least I can take out the ones that I feel are, oh man, I just burned my arm, are smart thing would be to turn it around. There we go. Okay. So like with this one, there's a slight jiggle to it still. Is it too much of a jiggle? Yeah, that actually may not be ready. Let me see this one. Yeah, that's also not ready. Okay, we're gonna set it for another 5-minute timer. So we're gonna set it for another 5-minute timer. That is a-okay. Not everybody's oven is at the same temperature. That's part of the reason why I wanted to shake it and then show you what mine is looking like. Because if yours is done at 35 minutes, perfect, pull it out, let it cool. Mine are not done. So we're gonna go another 5 minutes and then we'll come back and double check. So I'm just gonna grab one. It has a slight jiggle, but it's not loose. That one's perfect. It'd be better if I had like those tongs. This one's a little more jiggly. Let me see. These two are a lot looser. Oh no. But this one, I'm trying to do it. This is too bulky. Let me see. That's better. You see how there's like a slight movement to it? Actually, this one might be overbaked. There's movement to it. that one might be over baked, so I think the other 4 might be perfect, but let me see. It has movement to it. Actually, I think that might be fine. Again, this is why I wanted to try creme brulee, because never made it. Seems simple, but it's pretty technical, especially too if the cook time isn't done in the exact time that whatever recipe you're using theirs is finished. So it can kind of be like a little nerve-wracking, but it's good. This is the first one we took out, so this is the first one we'll pull from the fridge, and we'll probably be able to compare them side by side to see if I should have. I don't know. This one is, though, I will say, has the least amount in there. This one only filled about maybe halfway. So this one's a lot smaller. So, and also I'm starting to think maybe 5 minutes is too early to be checking. Oh no, I think they're good. Hold on. You see how you really can't see? This one is so much smaller. This is why this one is already done. But let me take, okay, this one has dulce de leche in it. I think these are good. They have a wobble to them, but it's not crazy loose like it was when we checked 5 minutes ago. So I think in total, it spent about 45 minutes in the oven. And that one was about 40. And that kind of makes sense because in the video that I was referencing, he only made 3 ramekins and I had 5 in here. So I know typically when you bake more or like you make like a larger capacity, you have to account for that when baking things because it may take a little bit longer. So it has wobble to it, but it's not wobbling all crazy. You know what I mean? Okay, so we have them out the oven. We're gonna let them cool for about, I don't know, until whenever they feel cool. So I'm just gonna set a timer on my phone for 20 minutes. So let them cool down to when you touch them, they're not hot. And then we're gonna place them in the oven. No, we're not gonna place them in the oven. We're gonna place them in the refrigerator. I do have plastic wrap. So once they're completely cool, you can use plastic wrap. Now I do have those lids. I'm wondering if I could just put the lids on them instead of using plastic wrap. What I don't want is any condensation to happen, so I have to make sure that they're completely cooled. So let them cool completely, and then I'm gonna pop those lids on. But if you don't have lids, you can just use plastic wrap, and then we're gonna get them in the refrigerator. And then we're gonna come back in about 2 hours. We're gonna start with this guy here because this one was the first one we took out. Even right now, I'm able to touch it and my hands are not burning, which is a great sign. A great sign for what? I don't know. But I guess it just means it's cooling off. And we'll try some of our methods. Okay, so we are back. We're gonna be trying the first method of the creme brulee. Now, I'm not gonna make 3 different creme brulees tonight because I don't want to eat 3 tonight. So I will just pop the camera out whenever it's time for me to put one together, and then we'll try a new method. So for the first method, so I've seen people do it 2 ways, and I'm kind of nervous because one way was that you put a thin layer of sugar in a pan and then you don't stir it, you let it dissolve first. It has to at least start turning into a liquid, and then you stir it until it turns an amber color, and then you keep stirring it, and then when it turns that amber color, then you pour it quickly on top of the creme brulee. The other way people were doing it were they were mixing water with sugar, letting it completely mix together, and then letting it bubble until it turned into an amber. I don't know which way I want to try it. I think I want to try it with a thin layer, don't move it, and then see what happens. So we're going to try that. Now, I need to pick that creme brulee that had the smallest amount, that had the less jiggle, so that way it's ready when this is ready to go. So let me see if you can see my pan here. Okay, perfect. We're gonna go ahead and get this on. And I'm just gonna get this spoon. And we're gonna dust. I'm trying to make sure it's laid out. Oh, it's already starting to, if you can see. Or was there water on the back of my spoon? I hope there wasn't water on the back of the spoon. Let's see. Okay. So it's spread out. We're letting the heat do its thing. I'm so tempted to go in there and touch it, but I know you have to leave it. So let me go find that brûlée that we need. I'm scared. It's not doing anything. Oh no, wait, it is. It's starting to fade a little bit. It smells like it's burning. I need to just be patient. Oh yeah, look. Oh my gosh. Okay, it's working. I don't know why I was expecting it to not work, but it's working. So I think once it gets a little bit more, then we can go ahead and mix it. I just don't want to do it too soon. I hope this was enough. It can't be too much that it doesn't actually get hard because the layer is too thick, because you still want that crackling top. So it is turning that amber color. I'm gonna go and get my silicone spatula so that way it can scoop out. Okay, yeah, because this is ready. All right. So we're gonna pour it on the top. You have to move quickly because you don't want it to all set in the middle. So we gotta be able to move this around. It got a little messy. It kind of dripped on the sides because I was scared that I wasn't moving quickly enough. So we're just gonna let this sit for a moment. But we did it. Look at that. Oh my gosh. And it looks great, honestly. Like the color is beautiful. Okay, let's let this sit for a moment. Oh, I started talking because what I wanted to say was, as I was pouring the caramel, because it all kind of went in one spot, I noticed it kind of warmed up the middle and it started to slightly move the custard at the bottom. So I hope that's not an indicator that it's not completely set, but we're about to find out. Okay. Okay. Look at that. Okay, I'm so proud of us right now. Look at that. That is beautiful. And it was the perfect crack. It gave the same exact reaction of like a creme brulee, like the blowtorch. Now, probably could let this sit a little bit longer, but the custard is still beautiful. It's still thick on the spoon. It's not just pooling off. Okay, let's give this a try. This is perfect. I actually have no notes. I've never made it before, right? So I really can't even say for sure if I did something wrong. But this is so good. It is amazing. Oh, wow. That Mexican vanilla really does make a difference. The caramel on top is exactly what I need it to be. Is it different from the brulee? Yes, in terms of like, this is more candy, and the regular brulee with the blowtorch, I guess is, I don't know how to describe it. It's more like burnt. This is obviously burnt sugar, but you get what I'm saying. So it's just like a slight difference, but to not have a blowtorch, this was a fantastic result. It almost makes me not want to try the other methods, but we're still gonna go ahead and try them. But this, I will say, was definitely a success, and I'm glad I kind of wrote it down already. Oh, we just have to write down the brulee part in the recipe book. So you know what, actually we'll wait until we see which one we like best. But so far we're starting off really strong. Yay! I know what I just said. I know that I said that I wasn't gonna do them tonight, but now I'm too excited because this was a success. I guess my only comment or notes, I think I said I had no notes, I do have note, is maybe add a little less so it can be so thin that when you bite it, it doesn't feel like it's getting stuck on your teeth. That'll probably be my only note, but clearly we enjoyed it. So and now I'm excited to see the other methods play out. So there are other people in my house who will enjoy one of these creme brulees. We're gonna grab a dulce de leche one and another vanilla. Kind of nervous about the dulce de leche ones just because they were filled up a little bit more than the others. So I'm kind of feeling like, ooh, did it set, did it not? But we're gonna find out. I don't think it's necessarily like a baking issue, like it wasn't baked all the way. I think it would be best if I let them sit overnight. But I'm too anxious to see how this turns out. So let's grab the others and try the other methods. This is a regular vanilla. It's also kind of low, so we'll go with this one. Also, these lids have little timers on them. It says like, it goes like by 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. I don't know what that's for. Like, it's not moving on its own, so I don't know. And then, you know what, let's grab one at a time so it can stay in the fridge as long as possible. So we'll leave that dulce de leche one because that's the one I'm most worried about. We'll move this. So the second one, it basically, you add your layer of sugar, a thin coating, and you take a spoon and you hold the spoon over your hot stove and you keep making passes. I'm worried about the logistics of it just because of getting the spoon in the sides. You're not supposed to touch it. It's just supposed to pass it. So I'm gonna get a big enough spoon, and I have a gas stove, so that should work out. We'll see. So I cutting the stove on. I'm just gonna leave the spoon sitting. Oh, actually, no, I'm not. Okay. So I think the key is that it shouldn't be a thick layer. It should be enough to coat it. There's something in the sugar. It's like brown. So I have a coating of sugar on here. We're gonna go ahead and warm our spoon up. So I don't want to keep moving the camera because I'm gonna make a few passes and I want you to be able to see what is happening. Actually, let me zoom in if I can, so we can see what is happening when I make those passes. So I'm holding the spoon over the heat. Do not touch the spoon to see if it's hot enough. You're just gonna have to, I guess, wait a few seconds. Okay, and we're coming. Okay, nothing happened. I'm trying to not let the spoon touch the sugar, and that is going to be very, very difficult in this ramekin, I feel. I can smell the spoon. I can even see smoke coming off of it. Oh, sugar is getting on the corners of the spoon. You see that? And it's starting to burn. So it's getting close enough that the sugar is touching the spoon. However, it's not making a difference in the actual brulee. I'm gonna give this one more pass and then we're gonna move on to the next method. So in order to move on to the next method, while we're at our stoves, let's go ahead and set our broilers to high. Well, this isn't working for me. All of the sugar is still there and it keeps ending up on my spoon. So we're gonna count that as a fail. And we're gonna let our ovens broil, let the broiler get up to temperature. So we're gonna let it go for about another 7 minutes. So I'm gonna set a timer and I'm gonna come back. So I'm gonna place this in the fridge because I don't want the creme brulee to sit out. And we'll come back in 7 minutes. And the thing is, you're supposed to take the rack, put it on the highest shelf so it's closest to the broiler, and then you place your creme brulee for about a minute or so just for it to get the bubbles on the top for the sugar, and then it's supposed to be good to go. I worry that it's gonna make the custard like very wet, but we're gonna find out. So I will be back in about 7 minutes. Okay, so it's actually been like 20 minutes. Again, I don't have the It's like the open flame broiler. So I just want it to be as hot as possible. So the goal is, I move the rack, I don't know if you can see it, all the way to the top one. And I'm gonna slide the creme brulee so it's directly under that broiler. How long I'm gonna keep it in there? I'm gonna turn the light on and I'm gonna check it like every minute to see. It's hot in there. So in order to get it in the position that I want it, I'm gonna get an oven mitt. Let me just pull this out actually. Place this in the middle. Yeah, let's see. I hope it just doesn't melt. If that first one turns out to be the only method that actually worked, I'm okay with that. I'm also nervous about the drastic temperature change from it being going cold to like in a broiler. I hope it doesn't like combust. It's hard to see from this angle. Sugar is still there. Let's give it absolutely nothing is happening. The color sugar is still sitting on top. The only thing I'm worried about now is that the custard won't be set. Now I do have this toaster. I can't set it any higher, but let's see if the boiling setting is better. So as I was going to change it into the toaster, I realized it's actually starting to melt. So I'm gonna give this a minute to actually do something and stop panicking. Oh no. Okay, well. From now on the last clip, it was like 30 seconds. And just so you can understand the color contrast, it's not hard at all. It's completely soft. There's even a spot of sugar that didn't even dissolve. So, I don't know, that's looking like a fail. Within those 30 seconds somewhere, maybe I only should have turned around like 15 seconds. But even so, all of the sugar still did not dissolve. Maybe this is actually me pulling it out too early. Maybe I should have left it in a little bit longer so all the sugar could be caramelized and kind of have like an even coating, because it is starting to get that hard crackling top on it. I don't know what it's gonna taste like. It is supposed to have some sort of burnt sugar flavor, but I don't know if that's gonna be too much or if that's gonna be just right. I'm gonna give it another second. It's tapping back. So let's see what we have here. Okay. It's hot. This is what it looks like. Okay, that actually doesn't look. You want to know something? That actually doesn't look too bad. It's just really uneven. Versus because we were able to do this one in a pan, we were able to get like an even amber color. This one is not even, and I don't know why. Because it's leveled, but it does have that crackling, and I don't know, that burnt amber color might be a little bit better. Let's do a taste test. I'm trying not to laugh, hear me out. This one is better than this one. The reason being, remember I was talking about that thin layer, how this one was kind of a little bit too thick, kind of hard to eat because it kept getting stuck in your teeth. This one has that thin layer of sugar, and the burnt flavoring it doesn't taste like candy. I fear this one, even though it doesn't look better, it's closer to the blowtorch than this one. Wow. I would not have guessed that. This one's better. I just have to figure out how to make it prettier. I don't know if... Maybe I should have left it like another 30 seconds. Maybe I should have given it a chance. So when we do the dulce de leche one, I'm gonna try it again, and I'll come back and let you know if it actually made a difference or not. To leave it in for another second. But this one tastes better. So we have our first method, which was it is a success. The second one with the spoon, I don't know, maybe I have the wrong type of spoon. This one is a success. It just looked uneven. I think I pulled it out too early, but it was in there for like 5 minutes. I was worried about the custard, but I like this one more. Wow, who would have thought? As far as the recipe book, I think I want to try this one, the one in the oven, one more time, but leaving it in for like another 30 seconds before we write it in our books. Don't kill me. I kind of want to try it now. My broiler is still on, so it's still hot, and I'm gonna grab a dulce de leche one, and we're gonna do it now. As you can see, the color is a little bit different. I think because we went back in with that whisk, it has a little bit more bubbles than the other one, but let's get our sugar on here. And I'm gonna put just a little bit less sugar than I did on that one, because I feel like that could also be a part of it, is that there's too much sugar for the brulee to get through. Okay, we have it. We're going in. Oh, also, I added $10 to our knife pot. I don't know if I said that. So we are at $50. We are a third of the way there. I'm so excited. And that was terrible. Okay, so to brulee without the torch, I actually think that the broiler is the winner. This was good. I'm waiting for you to be great. So we're gonna say add a thin layer of sugar to your creme brulee. Allow broiler to heat up for 20 minutes. Place rack on the highest shelf. It's starting to get brown, but it's not there yet. I'll go for another 2 minutes. Place rack on the highest shelf. Place your creme brulee in the center. Check every 2 minutes for, we shall see, will it be 4 minutes? Will it be 6 minutes? Okay. It's kind of looking like that one, so I am gonna go against every fear in my body and let it go for like another 30 seconds because it's kind of looking like this part here, but I want it to be like an even brown. We'll hope I can get it to an even brown. So we're gonna let it go for another few seconds and then we're gonna go ahead and pull it out. 4, 3, 2, 1, 30 seconds. I think we officially have our winner. So that was a total of 4 minutes and 30 seconds. But the other one went in for about 6 minutes. I think I heated it up for, I thought was a long time, but apparently it wasn't. Let me put this in the fridge actually. Let the broiler really heat up. For whatever reason, this takes a very long time to get that broiler on high. I think that's why the first one didn't turn out right. So we're gonna say 4.5 minutes. So instead of saying, for me, instead of saying 20 minutes, I'm gonna say 30 minutes to heat my broiler up. I know that this sounds very extreme, like a half an hour. If you don't have a half an hour, this method, as you saw, took seconds. We can go ahead and we can do this one and it still turns out fantastic. But if you want this rich color and you have the time, touch it, it is still hot. Look at that. I think that is as close to a blowtorch as we're gonna get. Broiler. Sorry. Now, the only thing that I'm thinking of in my head is, what if you were trying to do multiples at once? Because I was just doing one at a time. So I was able to put it in the center. What does that look like when you're doing multiples? That's a good question. I think, honestly, if I was doing it for a part, no. Because if you were doing it for a party, you have to pour these in pretty quickly. So the broiler might be the best option. And I think it might still be the same as long as they're all fitting under the broiler exactly. So mine's is kind of big, so I think all 6 would fit directly under it. There we go. Now we have 3 creme brulees, 2 methods. This one I was scared. This one I went all in. This is what I think is going to be the successful one. This one was almost a success, and this one was still a success, but in a different way. And that is still hot, but that is perfect. Oh my goodness. I'm willing to burn my finger for this. Look at that. We taste it. When I tell you this is perfection, this is perfection. This is perfection. Well, we did it. We were able to successfully make a smooth, creamy creme brulee. We tried out different methods. Some worked, some didn't, some kind of fell in the middle. But in the end, if you make your creme brulee at home and you don't have a blowtorch, you can place it under the broiler for about 4.5 minutes at a really, really high heat, and you can get an almost perfect brulee. This was so much fun. This is kind of the experimenting that I really wanted to do on this channel, so I'm really excited about it. I think the next video we are doing tortillas. Don't quote me on that. I'm terrible at making tortillas. I can make bread, I can't make tortillas. So we're gonna be trying that together. I want to thank you guys so much for entertaining me for this last, I don't know, probably hour and a half. If you like this, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any additional methods that, aside from using a broiler or a pot, definitely let me know.